World famous is an attitude, and it's something that we decided we're going to build into our brand so that my employees would have this attitude of being world famous. If you call yourself world famous, then someday you might be world famous. Hi, I'm Chris Zane, and I'm founder and president of Zane Cycles, the largest bike shop in Connecticut and one of the largest suppliers of bicycles in the nation. So the thing that makes Zane's really unique is we have this single understanding that if we can capture all the single transactions of a customer, that there's a value to that customer. And so instead of looking at a customer singularly and saying, well, they're buying a $6 tube or they're buying a $150 car rack, we take the relationship and we look at every transaction potentially that they're going to make, and we added those up. And so the first bike at 4, and then 6, and then 8, and then high school, and then you graduate from college, and then getting married, and then midlife crisis bike, and then retirement bike. That single customer, if we can get them from cradle to grave, is worth $12,500 in revenue. That actually equates to $5,650 in profit for our organization. So when my employees are communicating with an individual, it's not a $6 tube customer, it's a $5,600 profit customer. And you treat someone very differently when they're worth $5,600 than you do when they're worth $6.
So just listen to it, kind of look down, and that'll become very intuitive for you.
When we built this building, we took a lot of time not just in building the building, but actually how the flow of the business was going to work so that we could separate different groups of people when they're in the store. This is recreational stuff, and that's high-end stuff. And people come in with cleats, and they come in with, cycling shorts. They go over there, and the families who come in and need kids' bikes or want a recreational bike, they come here. You can figure out pretty quickly when there's fun stuff on one side and there's super expensive helmets and cycling clothing on the other side, that the customer immediately knows which way they want to go. And then the conversations with the staff is different because the guys who are on the recreational side of the store understand what they need to do to talk to the customer about it. And the high-end customer wants a little more tech. He might want a little bit more specific information. And we know it, but we don't necessarily have to project it to our recreational customers. You're not buying a bike because it's titanium and steel and rubber. And one example years ago was that my employees were saying, well, we need to know more about the product. And I said, you know what, the next person who comes to the door, I'm going to sell them a bike, and I'm not going to tell them anything about the bike. I'm just going to talk about the experience. And a woman came to the door, and I brought her those bikes. I asked her what she wanted to do, and we picked out a bike, and she took it for a ride in the parking lot. She came back in. I was like, that was a ton of fun, wasn't it? She goes, oh, that was great. And she said, is there anything else that I should look at? And this really was the perfect bike for her. I knew by talking to her and having an understanding of what her investment needed to be and what she wanted to do with the bike, that this was the thing that she needed. And she walked out the door, and my employees were like, you never talked about the size of the wheel, you never talked about how many gears were on it, you never talked about whether it was steel or aluminum. We're satisfying people's needs, not selling stuff.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. And I'll bring it right out, help you get it in the car.
Okay.
Thanks. Hiring decisions, I try not to hire enthusiasts. Enthusiasts have an attitude that they know way more than the person they're talking to. Hi, I'm Tom Gerard, Director of Retail Operations at Zane Cycles. The hiring process, I hire maybe one person a year. So it's very easy to kind of keep my hands on with the staff that's been here a while, how they do today, what do they need to work on, can we let them loose on sales alone yet? We all work together on that, the training part of it. What do I do on a day-to-day basis? Everything that has to be done. So direction with employees, what's the task list? What has to be done? Does the light bulb on the outside of the building have to get done? Or, we don't necessarily go out and just spend money. We don't hire electricians to, do stuff that's not really needed. Can we figure it out here? Can we clean the floors? Everyone's pretty much responsible for everything. Repairs don't get done, we're all chipping in helping. At the end of the day, the customer's got to be happy. The customer's got to be satisfied.
When there's a crisis that develops, I certainly get involved, and I'm engaged with the customers to let them know that it's going to be taken care of. And then I can hand it off to my folks because they understand that they're going to do whatever the customer wants, so it makes it a pretty simple situation. I don't get engaged in a whole lot of those issues because my employees are empowered to satisfy the customer independent of me. So typically things don't get so heated because if the customer asks for something and the employee says yes, it's satisfied, it's done, they're satisfied, they're happy, and they're able to move on. The success we've had with the empowerment model that we use is pretty awesome because we have our Saturday meetings and things that went on during the week we talk about on Saturday morning before we open, and everybody knows what's going on and everybody's had conversations and everybody wants to have their best I satisfied the customer story. So rather than doing a 6-month recap or an annual recap on what Zane's is all about, it's really part of the thread of our organization. So it's discussed every time we get together. So feedback is really important in the success of our organization. At a retail level, we're constantly surveying our customers face-to-face, informally, constantly asking them if there's things that we need to do differently, if they're satisfied with the relationship that they have with us, listening to conversations that they're having in the store or at events about what they're happy about, not just with us, but with cycling and their needs. And then at the corporate level, we do formal surveys where everybody who gets a bike, who uses points to get a bike through an incentive program, gets a survey from us, and it asks what their engagement was with the process and were they satisfied and they feel like they had a positive experience. And we take that information, informal and formal, and we tweak the service offerings that we have so that we can better our relationship with the customers that we're trying to keep coming into our business. Over 13 cents an hour, I wanted a business that could pay the employees what they were worth. So it took a while. I mean, you don't start off being a decent boss. I fight every day not to micromanage and not to be completely engaged in every aspect of the business, because I've had people just walk out and say, I can't work for this guy. He's nuts, and he doesn't empower me. He's micromanaging me. He's difficult. In a situation where things get heated, and you realize that if you frustrate your employees, they quit, and they're valuable to you. So you learn how to become a good manager and how to become a good leader so that they want to be part of the team. So now we have a great environment. Employees are empowered to satisfy customers at all costs. They have flex time. If they need time off, they can talk to folks and take time so that it satisfies their needs for their family. There's lots of little nuances with the quality of life that goes on in our organization that's very different from a lot of other businesses, because we want them to be as engaged when they're here as they can be and be passionate about the relationship that they have with our organization. This is a cool bike, huh?
Yeah, it's carbon fiber right now.
Oh, awesome.
I actually was in another store. I had a customer that was my customer, and I sold him a bike and we didn't carry the line. Chris Dane was the only one in the state that had the line, so I called him up, said, I have a really good customer I want to take care of. Can I buy the bike through you and resell it to him? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Tom Gerard, Director of Retail Operations at Zane Cycles. When I came up to pick the bike up from Chris, he offered me a position. He says, I traveled around a lot. I heard you've been, good with customers, good with people. I'm looking for a new manager. Do you want to come on board? And when I met Chris, he was kind of wow, that guy started lifetime free service. It was back when he was the first guy to start it. And all the reps were talking about it like, wow, that was a stupid decision. That's never going to work. It's never going to work. And I was looking at it like, that's a good idea. They're never going to go into another store. And it was one of the deciding factors of, what am I going to do? The other one was we weren't open on Sunday.
One of the things I've found over time with dealing with my employees is that I kind of look at them kind of with a similar relationship that I do with my customers. I let them dictate what they need in order to have an environment where they feel valuable. And so if a customer comes in and needs something extreme, we'll figure out how to give it to them. If my employees come in and they need something that's non-traditional or extreme, we're going to figure out how to give them that as well. Because everybody has a different yardstick, everybody has different needs and wants. And if I can allow my employees to figure out what their important needs and wants are, and we can deliver that, just like my customers, then they're going to be happy and they're going to stay around. And although customers are really important to our business and happy customers help grow our brand, satisfied, happy employees are really what our culture is.
It's a very laid-back environment. When you look at my position here and what Chris allows me to do, it's basically I can do anything he would do as long as I can explain it. I pretty much make all the decisions. I don't have to call Chris on every little, can I do this, can I do that? Actually, I never call him on. It's usually a kind of afterthought. I'll tell him about it, which I got to work on.
And there's a lot of trust. When we're so focused on customer service and taking care of customers, and the fact that people are always challenging the things that we're all about, and that's really what my goal is to have my employees really trust the fact that I'm there for them as well as for the customers and for the company as a whole. We are focused on the community. I believe, that, and I've been successful for 30 years, that the community is really the reason that we've had this success. They supported me when I was just starting out, and they've continued to support us. So my belief is that, being involved in the community is an important part of what the organization is and how our success will continue. So I support all the nonprofit organizations that come in and request things for their events. I built this building, and it's green technology, and we have kids come in and they go up on the roof and they see the solar panels in 3rd grade for their field trips. And anything that we can do, scholarships for the high school students, being part of that community and having the community know that we're really engaged in the relationship with them just gives us a really strong position in the market. And it is a marketing plan. It's I believe that it's the right thing to do. I want to be a community citizen with our business, but I also recognize the fact that I don't need to spend as much money on advertising. So I don't need to do sales. I don't need to run, have billboards. I can cut my yellow pages advertising, because in the marketplace, our brand has a different feeling than, the weekly Sunday flyer. People know who we are, and they believe that they should support us because we're supporting them in return. So the money that we spend there that I'm not spending on advertising really has grown the company and given us even a stronghold in the marketplace, making it hard for our competitors to infiltrate, because they think you run a sale every week and you're going to get people showing up. And we've built ourselves as a destination. And over time, we've fortunately been able to eliminate some of our competition, the guys who didn't really understand that they were in the customer service business instead of the selling stuff business. The other thing we do is we supply bikes to companies that give them away for free. So American Express is one of our customers. If you pick a bike out of the points catalog, we supply those bikes to all those recipients. So we ship bikes all over the country. And as an organization, about 25% of our business comes from our retail business, and about 75% of our business is stuff that we do with all these companies that give bikes away for free. And I'm a long-term guy. I look at the opportunities that present themselves not in a 60-day or a 6-month opportunity, but in a 6-year or 20-year opportunity.